Okay, guys, so I am super excited for today's guest, all the way from Moose Jaw. He took the nation's capital by storm at quarterback for the University of Ottawa GGs, now a Regina Ram. Sawyer Buettner, how you doing, bud?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm super excited to have you. All the way from Moose Jaw today. How are things out there?
Good. It's actually windy as always, but I don't know, super flat, pretty warm. Good time on the prairies. So.
Yeah, we just had like a pretty big snowstorm yesterday. Not really, but probably 5-10 centimeters. It was messy for sure. But now, of course,
you guys still snow.
Yeah, it's classic snow, and it's sunny today. The classic Newfoundland weather. The only thing consistent about Newfoundland weather is the fact that it's inconsistent.
Love that.
But So first thing I want to dive into is a little debate. Who do you think fits that more stereotypical Canadian stereotype, Newfoundlanders or people from the prairies of Moose Jaw, where you're from?
Oh shoot, man! I think both. Honestly, I think I'd love to come out to Newfoundland and see what it's like because the way you guys talk is super cool to me. So I think both. I think we both have different unique factors that you don't see anywhere else across the country. If I wanted to come fish, I don't even know what you guys do out there, to be honest. So I just want to come see that. I know you guys. Don't you have a place called Dildo or something like that? I've heard.
Yeah, we do. Jimmy made Dildo pretty popular this summer, and it's kind of funny because Dildo was it was a town and a joke that you kind of got over when you're 12 years old. You're like, haha, this is funny. There's a town named after a sex toy, and then you just after you're when you when you leave those immature teenage phases, you're just yeah, okay, it's just another town. And then of course Jimmy Fallon mentioned it and wanted to run for mayor, and now all of a sudden everybody's bringing it up. The amount of dildo fronted questions that I've received staying in Ottawa, and all about the town, none about the toy. It was
funny, man.
Yeah, it's a great spot, honestly, and yeah, we do a lot of fishing and hunting. There's some there's some great whale tours that you can do, puffin tours, icebergs. I actually it's funny, while we're recording this, it's all scheduled to go. It's going to come out in a couple of days. I went down to Bonavista and I took some photos of this iceberg that's in right now, and I put myself up to a little challenge of trying to make a cocktail with the ice from the iceberg. So sometimes the ice breaks off and it comes into shore. So I actually found some, I think anyway, and I did it. I tried it and I made a cocktail. Didn't really turn out, but that video is already up there now by the time people listen to this. But it's pretty fun. But like I said, it's always interesting because I find the stereotypical Canadian basically fits for people from out west and from out east, and especially in Newfoundland. For us, it's the way we talk. For you guys, I think it's a little bit more of the way you dress and stuff like that, and just the vibes too.
Yeah, I'd say that. That's funny. I gotta finish. I gotta visit Dildo, definitely. But yeah, I would say that too. Yeah, I know when I got to Ottawa, people commented on the way I dress, and I don't know. I dress like a bum at all times. And, I wear jeans once a week when we're not in quarantine, so I haven't touched a pair of pants in a month now. But but yeah, if anybody wants to it's just different out here. If anybody wants to come see some real farm boys, farm women, you got to come out here because they're definitely a different breed of people. So, but I love it out here. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I love being home, and it's nice. It's honestly you kind of find I haven't spent too much time out west, but people are just a little bit more relaxed and kind of going about their day to day, and there's no hustle and bustle. But it's funny too. You mentioned people when you first got to Ottawa, how you dress. For me, it was how I speak, and I never thought that I had a massive Newfie accent, the traditional one. When you're out for a few drinks or you're talking to people from back home, it comes out a little bit more. But when I'm up there, sometimes when I first got up there, 5-minute story took me about 15, 20 minutes to get through because people were like, "Oh my God, say shed again, say."
Yeah. That's funny. Honestly, the first time I met you and you introduced yourself, I was like, "Oh my goodness, this guy's definitely from Newfoundland." That's the first thing I thought, and I was like, "It was the coolest thing." Honestly, I didn't even know what you were saying because I was just too focused on how cool your voice sounded. But
yeah, it's funny because like I said, I never think that I have a thick one, and I actually, you weren't here then, but in my first year, 3 of my buddies from back home came up, and they just kind of like toured the campus with me, and when we were in the office, this wasn't a football office, it was an Actus office, like Telfer, like business students and whatnot, and they were all just talking like they would, and we were just kind of shooting the shit, and then like they stepped out for a second, and they were like. Or I think I went back a couple days later, and all the guys from Ontario who were there were just like, "Yeah, man. Honestly, we're gonna be honest with you. We had no clue of what any of you guys were saying for the whole duration of that conversation."
That's awesome.
Okay, but yeah, so let's dive into football here. Where'd your love from football come? Just all the way out in the prairies.
Yeah, like football in Saskatchewan's always been big. Like we're one of the we're not a huge population-wise size province, but we produce some really good players, and we always have. So football was always a pretty big deal for me growing up. Like I started playing when I was 7 in the Moose Jaw minor leagues, and at that time, ages 7 to 12, we all played together. So it's pretty crazy to think about it now. But like I was in grade 2 playing against grade 7s. And there's only about like 5 or 6 of us, 7-year-olds in the league, and they put us at D line because we were taught to basically hold on to the feet of the guards and try to get tripped over. That was like our role. So that was my first role in football. So I wanted to quit my whole first year because you just your ass kicked every day. You're 7 years old, so of course you are. But I stuck with it. I started playing quarterback when I was 10, and then just fell in love with the game.
What
the rest is history.
Yeah, what was it about the quarterback position that attracted you to it so much, especially at a young age? Because 10 years old, that's quite early.
Yeah, I think just growing up in Moose Jaw League, everybody was always running the ball, and I always thought throwing it looked way cooler. And just growing up watching, when I was growing up watching guys like Nealon Green with the Riders, that's an old school guy, and Rocky Butler and Kerry Joseph. When I was growing up, and just kind of wanted to emulate those guys. So I started just picking up the ball and throwing it, and got pretty good at it. And then the leadership thing, wise to me, was always a fun thing. I like to be the man in charge, and like I said, I started playing quarterback when I was 10, and it's been my position ever since then. I guess also I'm not very athletic. I was pretty slow as I am now, like back then too. I was kind of a fat, slow kid. No, I'm not quite as fat, but I'm still pretty slow now. So it's the only position I can really play. But so I just really took to the spot.
How's that off-season 40 time looking right now?
I've had to run one right now. I don't know how fast it would be. I know with Joey, I ran one last winter, and it was a 4.96 or something. Okay. And honestly, I like broke down into tears and called my mom. I was so happy. Joey's a huge dude. I'm not sure if it's just Joey just felt bad for me and took a few seconds off of it or not, but I'll take that.
Was it laser time or was it hand watch, stopwatch?
I'm pretty sure it was stopwatch. If it was laser, it would have been like a 5.96. But
you get the generous click from Joey there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that's awesome. So I grew up playing minor sports in a small town, and I know firsthand you get to play with some characters, and there's just some stories that you take away from it where like absolutely, nobody believes really. Anything like that come to mind when I mention characters and funny stories from minor ball?
Oh shoot, from minor ball. Oh, goodness.
Even just like minor, high school, even the your time playing with the Regina Thunder in the Canadian Junior Football League.
Yeah, well, I have some really good stories in the Thunder, like not ones I can really tell out loud. It's just because the CJFL days are always fun, wild times that I look back on. I just think of the coaches that I've had throughout the years. Me and my dad coached me growing up, so I always had some good times there. That was an interesting relationship, but I love that. I guess I could say my dad and mom are both teachers at the same high school, both phys ed teachers, so they're in the same gymnasium. So I went to school with them every day. So I remember my first day of grade 9, I was like, oh shit, I was like, this is not going to be good. I mean, that's every kid's like worst nightmare. But I mean, I did that for 4 years and I ended up loving it. It was cool. I mean, not everything was cool. I mean, your dad kicks a guy out of class and he's right next to you. You guys like, oh my god, like, it's just the worst. But no, I think about that. I think about the coaches I've had. Scott McCulley for the Thunder is one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life, even when he's not trying to be. And then, I guess most recently, I mean, you know, Coach B. Coach B, I think you can say it too, is probably one of the most. He's probably one of the most interesting characters you're ever going to meet in your life. Like, I've never met another guy like Coach B. I mean, great guy, but just does some of the wackiest, funniest stuff, even when he's not trying to be funny, that I thought was hilarious. So that's the kind of stuff that I think about. I got so many Coach B stories that are just, that I'll always look back fondly on. So. Oh
yeah, no, I honestly I couldn't agree more. Like Coach B is definitely one of the biggest characters that I've met, in the best way too. I mean, he could just make you laugh, and he was a guy who like just. Whatever he said, it was like you were going to take something away from it, whether it be like a life lesson or whatnot.
Yeah, I would say he's in no way is he like the Tiger King, because like Coach B's not a felon or anything like that. But he's just like I think he's like he's like Joe Exotic, Coach B Exotic. It's just because he's like one of the most interesting guys you'll ever meet in your life. It's just funny. I have so many good stories. You want me to tell one good one? I can tell one good.
100%.
Oh man, I got a lot, but I think I'll do one quick one. So when we would watch film with Coach B, like he would sleep in his office, and like I honestly never saw him really go home. Like you could roll by the field, you know this. And, like,
100%.
His car would still be there.
Workaholic, loved it.
Yeah, exactly. Live for the game, like it's crazy. So we'd be watching film with the quarterbacks, and he'd be going through with his clicker, glasses half on his face and his like stained windbreaker, and then we'd be watching the screen, and then it would just keep playing, and we wouldn't hear him talking, and you look over him, he'd just be passed out asleep, and everybody would be like, should we wake him up? And we'd always be like, no, we'll give him a few seconds. Then he'd wake himself back up, and he'd jump, oh yeah, and the corner stinks right here, we gotta go out of the ball. It's just funny stuff like that, stuff that I'll look back on and laugh, because I really enjoyed my time in Ottawa with Coach B.
For sure. We'll kind of backtrack and go with the Regina Thunder, though. And, I mean, not a lot of people are familiar with the Canadian Junior Football League, in my opinion. I mean, it took me a while to kind of understand what the league was. And, I mean, even today, I just kind of realized that, like, you are kind of subbed off into different divisions. And so, like, you could end up playing, like, the Ottawa Sooners or whatnot. But, yeah, like, what's competition like in that league? And how do you think it prepares you for the next level, wherever that may be?
Yeah, I think it's different. I think definitely, I mean, I don't want to talk down any other leagues, but I would say it's pretty common knowledge that the PFC, the Prairie Football Conference, in the CJFL is the best one. I mean, you have the Saskatoon Hilltops, who have obviously dominated, and then Regina Thunder, we're always right there with them in the league. Edmonton Huskies, Winnipeg Rifles, Calgary Colts, and Edmonton Wildcats. Like, you get tons of players from those teams that go on and play. Not just university, but also CFL. So yeah, like I played 3 years in that league, and every game was tight. Especially playing the Hilltops. I mean, those are really great games. And it's just good to get experience. I played 3 years there, and then I still had 4 years to play university, or still have. So yeah, I think it's definitely different. Like last year we went out and played the Hamilton Hurricanes in Hamilton, and we didn't really know what to expect. But we beat them up pretty good. And I just think the way the league is right now, I think the BC League's pretty competitive too, but I would say definitely the top level of play is in the Prairies. So those are really good times I look back on, a lot of fond memories.
Yeah, honestly, from what I've heard, and like, I mean, the players that I've seen come out of there and compete, and whether it's in like U Sports as a whole or like the OUA, I mean, it produces ballers. Like, I mean, yourself, one of your teammates, and a good buddy of mine, Reed Kessler, he played with that Colts organization that you mentioned, and I remember him breaking down his film from there. and he just like lined off like the starting defense and had it all in positional, and he was like, yeah, this guy committed here, this guy committed here, this guy's in the CFL right now, this guy's here, this guy's here. And it's probably like 9 or like 10 out of like the starting defense who had either like gone on to either commit or are in the CFL right now.
Yeah, you have a lot of good players like Asher Hastings, who had a really good career at McMaster. He played for their Jonathan Thunder before I played too. So you get guys not just going. Usually, you get guys go to the Can West and play, but I think guys are kind of spreading their wings like Reed and going up to the OUA. So yeah, but there's a lot of good players coming out of that league.
What do you think it takes for a West Coast guy to commit somewhere like in the Ontario region or even out in the AUS, like kind of flipping coast or like going central? Because I see it a lot from a Newfoundland and like East Coast perspective. It takes a lot to get kids to either commit in the West Coast leagues or the Ontario leagues and leave home.
Yeah, I think, like we said, when you're from a smaller place, that's really all you know. So, I mean, it comes down to, do you want to leave home and kind of go experience something new, or do you want to kind of stay around and stick to what is more familiar? And at the time that I came to Ottawa, that was what I wanted to do, and I'm glad I did it. So, yeah, it's a lot more, I would say, if the football works out, in school, that's number one, but a lot of it is, like you said, like a lifestyle change, man. When you're moving, like yourself, I mean, you moved halfway across the country. I mean, I did too. It's a lot different. I'm not sure if you knew anybody in Ottawa when you got there, but I sure didn't. So that's all stuff you have to kind of, I think it depends on what kind of personality you have and how open you are to new experiences. Yeah,
I had 2 people from my high school who went to like the University of Ottawa, but other than that, I didn't really know anybody. But yeah, honestly, if I was to recommend anything, it would be kind of getting out of your comfort zone for a little bit and exploring a different city, whether you're a varsity athlete or not. I mean, just the experience overall, like, it kind of wakes you up and brings you into adult life while you are still a student.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, there's that. I think when you're from a small place like we are, you kind of get stuck in that fish tank of like, this is what life is. But like you said, you go out and see new things. Like, Ottawa's a beautiful city, but it doesn't matter really where you go. There's so many beautiful spots. I might go to Dildo University maybe for my master's degree or something. But I don't
think Dildo is got the university. But I mean, hey, I'd be impressed to see you transfer to the Memorial University of Newfoundland Seahawks, and maybe they don't have a football team. I know. You think of yourself as a decent basketball player from the intramural talks that I've heard. So maybe you can try out for the basketball team.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
So during all like this time in your younger stage there, you got to represent Team Canada a little bit there with the football and like the football program there with the just I guess repeating myself, but Team Canada. So, I mean, every like Canadian kid, it's pretty instilled into the identity that, you want to be the guy who represents your country and gets to wear that maple leaf and the Canadian jersey, the red, white, for hockey mainly. But what's that like doing it for a completely different sport in football?
Man, it was probably definitely one of the best football experiences and life experiences I've had. It's just cool to look back on the guys that we won that game too. I mean, we went down to Dallas, Texas, in 2015. We played in AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play, which is just like an amazing venue. I remember pulling up in the bus and you drive underneath the stadium. It's like a highway underneath the stadium to get to your locker room. I was like, what the heck? This isn't Mosaic Stadium in Regina. I was like, man, this is wild. We ended up winning that game 25-9. I believe, and the starting quarterback for that team was Dwayne Haskins, who got drafted in the first round to the Washington Redskins. So that's the quarterback I played against. So it's just cool looking back on stuff like that. Stephon Diggs' little brother, who is at Alabama, who's about to get drafted, he's playing receiver for them at the time, for Team USA. So it's just really neat to look back on the guys that we played against, and we actually ended up winning that game, which was awesome. And the chance to represent my country in like a famous stadium like AT&T Stadium in Dallas was just amazing. So it's something I'm definitely lucky to have. I mean, I was 17 at the time, so it was a really cool experience, especially when you're that young, to be living out a dream like that. So it was awesome.
How much did you know about the competition going into that game? Like, were you really like, man, like, I'm about to go toe to toe here with Haskins and like, Diggs, and like, were you aware of this, or was it just like, okay, you know what, these are just the same 17-year-olds are just from a different country. We got a job to do here.
Basically, I mean, we that was one of the toughest weeks. We had like 4 hours, probably more, about 5 hours of practice a day, doing 2 days for about 8 days, and meetings every day. I mean, it was a grind, so we were really well prepared. But man, we had a really, really good team. We had guys from all over. I think we had 4 Saskatchewan guys on the team, but a lot of Ontario guys, a lot of Quebec guys on defense. So I think we were ready. Definitely when they released the roster about who we were going to play, and we started Googling some of the guys, like Dwayne Haskins he has a cannon now, obviously, but man, he had a gun back then too. So I remember watching him warm up and go, oh my goodness, like this guy just looks like Warren Moon out there already, just firing the ball all across the field. But yeah, I think we just didn't really care who we were playing. Once the whistle blew and kicked the ball off, man, we were ready to go. So yeah, we had a really good game. Actually, I thought it was going to be a bit closer than it ended up being, but I'm happy we'd won that one.
What are some moments in that game that like still kind of resonate you, whether it be a play or just maybe a motivational speech on the sideline? What was something where it was like, holy crap, did we just do that, or did that just happen?
Yeah, I remember getting out. I got to hold the flag during the anthem, which to me was like crazy. And I'm looking around, you see like the names up in like Troy Aikman, Emmett Smith, Michael Irvin up top, and you're like, oh my goodness. And that stadium, it wasn't full, obviously, because I don't know how many people it seats, but we had probably about 10,000 people in there, and just still the roar in there. Just the natural buzz in that stadium was just amazing. And then I ran in the touchdown, believe it or not. It was only 1 yard, so still like the longest rushing touchdown of my career. But I ran one in. I remember laying on the ground looking out and like, oh my goodness, I've seen so many people score touchdowns on stadium on TV, and just to be where they were was just amazing. So that's one thing I definitely cherish from that game.
Honestly, I'm almost living through you right now as you're telling the story, and just imagining how amazing that probably felt, because I'm thinking of, watching Thursday night football or Monday night football games, and it's like watching the Cowboys and people scoring touchdowns in there, and just the way you described that is, it's pretty mind-boggling, and it's incredible, too, what sport can kind of give in terms of opportunities for guys from small towns, right? Because, I mean, who would have thought that a kid from Moose Jaw would be running in a 1 yard score there?
Oh, man, yeah, that's the thing, for sure. Like, if you'd have told me a year prior to that would be in Dallas scoring a touchdown, I'd be like, man, you're nuts. Like, because, we played that game in January, and my high school season I just finished up in November. I mean, so we don't play on any turf fields out here. It's all grass. I mean, so you go from scoring a touchdown in Weyburn, Saskatchewan, which is like basically a football field, like in the middle of nowhere in a farm field kind of thing, to like looking up and you're scoring a touchdown in Dallas, Texas, where the Cowboys play, is just amazing. So I think you're right. Like, the opportunity that sports can give you, especially to a small town kid, makes it a lot more special. So it's awesome.
Yeah, honestly, that's incredible. But I want to move into now, like, your commitment to the University of Ottawa and those 2 seasons there. We'll start right from the recruiting process. How'd you kind of figure out about the university, and what made you be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, this is where I'll call home.
Yeah, so I'd always I knew the GG logo was always super sweet to me. I like the jerseys. I'd seen them when they used to play the game on the Score. I used to see like Sinopoli play and all that. So I was definitely always interested in it. I knew it was always like one of the top teams in the OUA. I talked to Coach Breezy coming to the high school. That's pretty much as far as it went, though. I kind of committed to play junior football and didn't hear from him again. And then one day, it was in 2017, in about December, I got a Facebook message from Coach Breezy. It's like in all caps, which makes sense if you know him now.
Yeah, he always does that.
Yeah, it's just like, Sawyer, Coach Breezy, call me, play football. I'm like, okay, so I give him a call. Just kind of plug what he was about, and took recruiting trip up there. Met Coach Nate Taylor, who's still one of my favorite coaches to this day. Kicked his ass in Madden. I'm not sure if he let me or not. Probably did. But yeah, I just really like the facilities and the guys and the coaches. So yeah, I decided to commit, and so it was a great experience.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a Madden debate throughout that team because I mean apparently have you played a bed yet?
No, I bet would like kill me by 90 points because I think he's probably the best player. From what I hear and what I've seen, definitely so.
So I played a bed once. I do regret it, but the very first game that we play, I get the opening drive, I score, and then I pick him off, run it back, and I'm at like the 8-yard line, and like now he's sweating, right? Because I mean it's me. Like I could tell he's getting nervous. All of a sudden he went from being like laid back in the chair to now he's like, okay, he's sat at the edge. And this was like probably within the first 4 minutes of the game. I had scored on my opening drive, and then like I picked it, ran it back for like probably like 60 yards. Like I'm at like 8 yards here, right? So even if I don't score, I'm still going to be up 10 here with a field goal. And then a bed just does what a bed does, and I threw a pick, and he ran it back, and it was a pick six. So it just and it went downhill after that. So I had a quick glimmer of hope, and I think he beat me like maybe like 33 to 10, 33 to 7. I don't even know if I got another point after that.
It's actually not too bad. Yeah, I've heard he's beat guys way worse than that, so I think you're all right.
He gave me a little bit of credit at the beginning. He started, and I think I let that go to my head, and that's why he stopped giving me the credit for being a Madden player. But yeah, honestly, I don't get to play it too often. I don't know about you, but I don't have a PS4. The only thing I have in my hometown here for consoles is a Wii. So if anybody wants to play me in Wii bowling, I'll gladly take them on.
Love it.
But yeah, no. So you mentioned there like a GG great, and in all honesty, a Red Black great, and a Canadian Football League great, Brad Sinopoli. How much did you take from his game from watching him play quarterback?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's definitely one of the top university quarterbacks of all time. I would say like he's definitely a different type of athlete than I am. Obviously, man, that guy obviously he's like a dominant receiver in the CFL now, but I remember watching him back then, just some of the stuff that he could do was just amazing. He put the team on his back a couple different times. So yeah, I took a lot of stuff from watching his game. Just seeing a Canadian guy get drafted into the CFL with Calgary, and then kind of work his way. I know he had to switch positions, but he's definitely been a dominant player. So kudos to him.
Yeah. So your first few weeks on training camp in Ottawa. You went in and like obviously like I mean the way Coach B does things is you'll never actually know if you're the starting QB really, because I mean he's very open to the fact that it's competition and anybody can really beat out anybody for a position, but there was already a kind of like an established there was already a number one guy there, and you were kind of coming in to compete. Like what kind of mindset are you thinking there? Like right from that camp, because it's almost like say if you ultimately don't get atop of him in the depth chart. I mean, he was a younger guy. You could be kind of battling for that position for a while.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is honestly, is you got to have kind of I don't give a shit type factor to yourself. I mean, if you worry about all that type of stuff, you're gonna drown yourself in emotions and different type of stuff. So different type of things that you can't control. So I knew they had a younger guy, a talented guy, but I knew I brought a few more different things to the table that could be useful to the team. And so, yeah, like you said, I was realistic to myself. I knew it was going to be tough to beat him out. Like I went to spring camp, I went to training camp, and got to the number 2 and had to work my way up. I thought I gave it my best shot, and then at the end of training camp, Coach B said that I was going to back up for the first game. So I made it in my lineup. I was going to be the best backup that I could be and be ready to play if I needed to. And then a week later, we're playing McMaster. And I remember in the third quarter, I was just standing by him and he just told me to go warm up. So I figured, this is my chance. The thing with that is, especially when you're older quarterback and you got a younger one, if I was to gone in against McMaster and, not played well and not won the game, I'd probably maybe not have gotten a chance to play again. So I knew I kind of had to make the most of my chance, and that's what I did. Because those opportunities don't come often. So when they do, you really got to make them count. So.
Yeah, and that was quite the finish there. You threw for 2 touchdowns. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and both of those were spectacular plays. I mean, the first one being that catch with DSP. What's going through your head on that play?
Yeah, no, we were down in the red zone. They got those small end zones in Ottawa, so I knew I was going to have to fit in there pretty tight. I just kind of put it to a spot, and DSP made a great play like he always does. And then the next one, really, like, it was all Bryce. It was like a 3-yard pass. It was a 3-yard pass, and then I cheered him on from behind.
Yeah, that play was almost like I'd say that was almost like a 50-yard play off of a 3-yard catch.
Oh, yeah. It still counts as a 50-yard pass for me, so, I mean, that's all that matters. But, no, I remember watching Bryce do it, because I had heard about Bryce, but then you get in practice, he's doing his thing. I'm like, okay, this guy's really good. And I remember in that game, I'm like, oh, my goodness, this guy's like a generational type of player, so that was amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, what's it like having those tools, like, right off the bat? I assume, obviously, it's going to make things a little easier.
Yeah, I mean, like, you got Carter and Caleb on the boundary side. I mean, those guys are 2 dominant receivers and 2 very, very good athletes and good dudes. And then you got Dylan out there, too. So, yeah, I mean, it was – and then Bryce, too, at that time. It was just, like, a lot of weapons. So I think the biggest thing was they just needed someone to get them the ball and let them go to work. And I tried to do that as best as I could, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's almost one of those things where it's like you just got to let Bryce do Bryce things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to put it. Because I'm like, good Lord, could he do amazing stuff with the football in his hand? So.
Yeah. So that season, I mean, obviously, we wouldn't be doing it justice if we didn't talk about the Panda Game, because I think that was almost like for a lot of people, that was almost like your coming out party, where it was like, oh my God, like this guy's this guy can be a dominant force in the OUA, because I mean, on the biggest stage in the biggest stadium at the biggest moment throughout the season, you really performed well and put together a great offensive performance. What was that whole moment like, in that whole week leading up and a couple days after?
Yeah, so that's definitely the highlight of my career at Ottawa, and one of the main highlights of my football career. And that game was crazy. I mean, we know it's such a big game. I knew about it beforehand, before I even got to Ottawa. And then when I got to Ottawa, people were telling me how big of a deal it was. And I was kind of like, yeah, I bet it is. And then you get to the stadium, like, oh my goodness, there's 20,000 drunk people in the stands being super loud. And it's just a wild, wild place. But nah, man, it was awesome. The thing about that game is I'm most proud of is my first pass of that game. I threw just a beautiful, beautiful over the head, over the shoulder interception to their corner. to their corner. I remember throwing it. I'm like, that ball feels good coming off my hands. And then he caught it, and I was like, oh shit, that wasn't supposed to happen. But then I bounced back, threw a touchdown to Carter, and then in the second quarter, I mean, Jack Kazar came through the middle and just absolutely almost murdered me.
Yeah, Carlton's been playing that clip for the past 30 years.
I see that clip at least once a month. Like, if it's just highlights, I'll see it. They post it, like, I remember they posted about exams or whatever. I thought it was funny. I think they deleted it, I think, which is like, I don't know why they did that. That was kind of a weak move. I thought it was funny. So yeah, I got off on that one. That's what I'm most proud of, because I think a lot of dudes would just stayed down, but that's just not who I am. So I mean, I got up and threw a couple more touchdown passes, and I mean, that's another one. I mean, Kalen went off that game too. I mean, he was a man amongst boys out there. So I mean, it was an amazing experience. I mean, getting fans rushing the field too. That's just something you don't get other than the movies. So I mean, that's just a great football experience that I'll remember for the rest of my life. So.
Yeah, honestly, like the fans rushing the field, I mean, that really does not happen like anywhere else. Like, I mean, down in the States, like, you'll have a few bowl games, but I mean, a lot of facilities are kind of like cutting back on that. And then, like, when people are like, renovating and putting in like multi-millions of dollars, they kind of they bring in more security, so like fans can't do that, just so they can like keep them off the field. I know there's a few fields even in the OUA where, like, if you're not like a staff member or a player, like, you're not allowed on the field, like, and that's even like after the game.
Yeah, man, I remember we took the knee, and the ref was yelling at me because he wanted the ball. He's like, man, I need the ball. I'm like, why is he freaking out so much? And I turned behind me. It was like Braveheart. He had like hundreds of people just running at you, like they're all most of them are intoxicated. I remember my favorite part watching the stream after the game is just one dude who's running down the hill. He trips, he rolls down the hill, he gets up and just rips his shirt off and just sprints across the field. It's amazing. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's stuff that's memorable for not only us players, but also for the fans that attend the game. So.
Well, I mean, that year that we're talking about, I mean, we broke the streak that year, right? Like, it was the first time in however many years. I don't want to give Carleton that much credit, so I ain't going to talk about how many years it was, but it was like I remember wearing my like staff jacket on campus there like a couple days after during the week, and this fellow student came up to me and she was just like, oh, like, are you with the football team? And it's just like, yeah. And she's just like, oh my God, like, thank you so much. Like, it was this was like my last year, and that was gonna be my last Panda game, and like I finally got to run out onto the field, and it was incredible. Like, thank you. And it's like, man, like you don't kind of realize it, but it's like, wow, like a lot of people are paying attention to this game.
Yeah, I mean, it was huge. I mean, we could definitely feel that week of practice. I mean, it was definitely like do or die. Like, it's not the end goal, but it is a goal for the season for sure. I mean, it's such a big rivalry, and it is a big deal. So I mean, we were dialed in, and we knew it was do or die. There wasn't any way we were gonna lose that game. It just wasn't gonna happen that day. So.
No, I think you're right, and it's funny how you mentioned one of your favorite memories was watching the stream back and seeing that guy tumble. There's been so many people I've seen tumble like throughout those games, and especially the last 2 years of them running on the field. And if any Ottawa students, or I mean even Carleton students are listening, here's the thing: before while you guys are prepping for the practices and doing the film study and practicing, I got to recommend to all those students who plan on trying to rush the field, practice the week of, get a couple drinks into you and just try and jump some fences and train, so that way you're well prepared, because there have been some spills, man. There have been some people.
I'd say mixing a water too, definitely.
Yeah,
too,
yeah, like sure. third quarter, mixing a water, and realize that if your team's up, that you might have to test your athletic ability and jump, because man, I've seen some people take spills, and then I'm just like, oh my God, are they gonna get out of this? Because there is like 10,000 more people behind them, and they are not waiting.
I know. Just shotgun a Bud Light Prohibition and rush the field. That's all you gotta do. Pretty good time.
Oh man, no, it's honestly, it's a crazy week, and it's an incredible thing to be a part of, and it's one of my fondest memories of my time at the university too. But I find one thing with you now is that like you get to represent Moose Jaw in those moments, and I know for me, like I always love telling people where I'm from, because I haven't come across okay, that's a lie. I've come across one person who knew Claremont, Newfoundland since I've been in Ottawa, and that was another photographer who photographed the Nepean Raiders. So that's it's in the CCHL league, I believe. I could be wrong, but so a kid from my hometown, Kenneth Neal, he played in that league, and he was a pretty dominant player for them, and played like 4 or 5 years. So when I said I was from there, that is why he knew about Claremont. But other than that, in the last 4 years, not a single person has known. Like, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, Newfoundland, and like that's about as far as it gets. Some people know St. John's, but I know it's always like incredible to represent towns like that. And I mean, yeah, for you it's Moose Jaw. So what's that like?
Yeah, that was one of my biggest things, because like I said, nobody knew. I remember, like, some people didn't even know what Saskatchewan was. I forget who it was, but it was a Quebec defensive back who thought that Saskatchewan was a city in BC. I was like, no, it's actually its own province. So like nobody knew anything about Moose Jaw, and that's cool to me. But I kind of wanted to make a goal that people knew something about Moose Jaw. So anytime I get a chance to, I would try to represent Moose Jaw in the best light. Because like you said, there's a big sense of pride when you come from a smaller place and you're in a big city like Ottawa. And the cool thing about Ottawa, about playing for Gigi, is we had guys from all over the place. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I always wanted to represent Moose Jaw in the best light I could to those guys. I don't think any of them will come visit. I've tried to convince quite a few of them, but I don't think they will.
Listen, man, I'm in the same boat. I'm trying to convince some of the guys to come to Newfoundland, and I always get those eye rolls and like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. They're not having it, but I told them, Tremaine Stevens, if he's listening to this, I told him, numerous times to come to Saskatchewan because he loved it. He doesn't think he would, but I guarantee you that he would.
I think Tremaine's one of my good buddies too. He was episode 2, and like I mean, I think he'd have a great time out here in Newfoundland as well. Maybe we'll do like an exchange program with Tremaine one year where we'll get him to. I'll have him for a week and then I'll toss him out to you for a week and then we'll see which one he likes better.
I love that. That's a good idea.
Okay. You talked about how the leadership is what kind of drew you to the quarterback position, and I think for me, one thing that I really enjoyed about watching you and how you operate from a week-to-week basis is just how you take that so seriously, and it's very much like I am gonna embrace this leader role, and I'm gonna do what I can to showcase that. And like I mean, one of the examples that I find great is whenever the O-line ended up having to do like, some extra runs and if they had to run the bleachers after practice or they were doing any kind of extra conditioning, you were always there like right alongside them. Why is that so important for you?
Yeah, I mean, number one, like I said, I got to get some more. I just swore twice. I got to get some more cardio in. But like number two, I just think it's just part of the job description. I mean, there's other positions that you can just show up right at the start of practice and leave as soon as it's done, but the quarterbacking is not one of them. If you want to be a really good one, I think you got to show guys that you care about them and be genuine. So anytime I did that, it wasn't fake. I was being myself. I wasn't trying to, because guys can tell right away when you're not being yourself. So that's just who I am as a person, and I hope that comes out when I play football. Because quarterback-wise, I mean, leadership's such a big role. So yeah, anytime the O-line was doing extra stuff, I go do it with them. Just let them know that I was with them. I just wanted to prove to them that I was with them, and we're in them together. And as a team, you got to do stuff together. And I know those guys hate doing extra running, and sometimes I did too. But it's just part of what you got to do to be successful. To be a successful team, I think once you show your teammates that you care about them, not only on the field but off the field, I think that just makes your team that much stronger. So it's always something I've tried to do since I was 10 years old when I started playing quarterback. So.
Now, obviously, I mean, for the quarterback to succeed, that offensive line is such a important position, and it doesn't always get a lot of love. Who are some O-linemen that you've played with who've literally, had your back and protected you? That you were like, man, like this guy's key. If I was to like kind of give one person all of my like individual successes and my yards and my completions, this would be because of him.
Yeah, like with the Thunder, a guy named Logan Furlan, who's on the Riders right now, is the dominant left tackle. That was one of my good buddies. And I think with the O-line, you got to have, like as quarterback, you got to have a really good relationship with those guys off the field in order for that to come on the field. And then, with Ottawa, I mean, guys, like my first year, Matt Bruder was in his last year. I mean, me and Bruder always had a good time chirping each other, but on the field, I know he always had my back, and he was a smart fifth-year player. Guys like I played with Tanner Bishop, Brian Latouche throughout those years. James Dumanoir, really good guys that I became friends with off the field, and then on the field I felt like they had my back. So yeah, those are guys. And then my first year, Zach Pellos is just I remember the first time I saw Zach Pellos, I was like, oh my goodness, that's the biggest human I've ever seen in my life. Like just an absolute monster. So yeah, but I got nothing but love for those guys. Because I think O-line naturally they're very protective individuals, so that's their job. So yeah, those are guys that come to mind.
Yeah, Zach's definitely a big human, but so now I want to dive into and what some people might not realize because you're still in university, but you've had some CFL experience. You got to do the CFL quarterback internship program there. Which is basically just an initiative that the CFL has to, get an extra QB into camps for CFL teams, and then obviously these guys are going to go back to their university teams taking some knowledge. And you got to do that with Winnipeg. What was that experience like?
Yeah, that was definitely one of the highlights of my career. I mean, it was amazing. I was there for 11 days. Got to work with Mike O'Shea, who just an outstanding individual, a great man and a great coach. But he treated me really, really well. And then Buck Pierce was the quarterback coach, who's a guy that I always enjoyed watching just because of his toughness on the field. And then Paul Lapalisse was the offense coordinator, who had worked with Coach Breezy quite a bit in the CFL and some past experiences. So, I mean, those guys treated me really well. I think the biggest thing is I've heard other quarterbacks that have gone to teams and they really didn't let them do anything. They kind of just basically snapped the ball at practice, did a few drills, and then sat around for an hour and a half. But, I mean, these guys gave me reps every day. I would get the last 2 reps of Pascalton and the last 2 reps of the team period, which maybe not doesn't sound like it a lot, but when you have guys that are competing for jobs and you got this university kid who's there for 10 days, they could have very easily just, kind of cast me aside and told me to just watch, but they gave me some hands-on experience. So for that, I'm very, very grateful to them. And then, I mean, it was just amazing. I remember the first day of the team meeting, or the first lunch. I remember I sat down eating lunch, and this huge guy comes sits down next to me, and it's Chris Matthews, the receiver, who had if the Seahawks would have won the Super Bowl, he would have been the MVP. And he's just a monster of a guy. I'm sitting beside him, and we're talking about degrees, and he asks what I'm in for school, and I tell him history. He's like, history, that's bullshit. You should be in finance. So it's just funny stuff like that. One of my funnest memories was I wasn't supposed to be taking reps because Matt Nichols and Chris Strevler, who are also 2 great guys, 2 quarterbacks at the time, were transitioning from across the field, and we didn't have a quarterback. And Lapley said, Sawyer, he said, screw it, get in there for a rep. So I went in there ice cold, middle of practice, and I'm taking snaps, and it was against the first team. So I look up, and Adam Baghill's playing middle linebacker. Marcus Sales is out there. And it's just crazy that it's not kind of another one of those things like Dallas where I just kind of, if you had told me I'd be doing this a few years ago, I would have told you were nuts. But just think keep working hard, and these are experiences that you can, if you work hard enough, you can be lucky enough to get. So it was crazy. I mean, I tell people I'm the Grey Cup champion. I mean, I was on their team for 11 days and ended up winning the Grey Cup. I still haven't got my ring, but I still consider myself a part of the team. They couldn't have done it without me. So no, man, it was a great experience. I mean, I took away tons of stuff from that experience. Basically, you get to be a professional athlete for 10 days kind of thing. So it was really cool.
Yeah, you beat me to it because I was going to ask you how much of that Grey Cup are you taking with you, and if they sent you a ring, though. But that's hilarious. And honestly, good on the Bombers, right? Because, I mean, that it is such a crucial time where, like, a lot of guys are fighting for their livelihoods, and they're trying to get jobs, and they're trying to get the best reps and really impress where they can, right? So the fact that you were able to get such a great hands-on experience is huge and tremendous, and honestly a big round of applause to the Bombers, right? Like for doing it so first class. But yeah, they went on and they had a great year, and they broke that drought, and they won the Grey Cup. But yeah, so no ring in the mail yet, eh?
No ring, man. I'm waiting. I still got my full Bombers sweatsuit. Like I got to keep some gear, which is really cool. Like, I grew up a Riders fan. Like Riders Bombers do not like each other.
Mm-hmm.
But after that experience, like I'm a Bombers fan as well too. So I was really rooting for them for this season. So I'm glad they could win the Grey Cup and finish it off well because they deserved it.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that too. It's like Riders they don't get along with the Bombers. So I was wondering how you felt when that was the team. But obviously you go into everything with that pro mentality, right? It's almost like. Anybody who just grew up being a childhood fan of like one team, the second they're drafted, okay, that team's now their favorite team.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of got 2 teams now. I mean, it's weird. I'm probably the only Riders/Bombers fan in the world, but I mean, it's just kind of how it is. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, after that summer, you go in, and I mean, obviously a tough start to the year, and pretty much kind of derailed the year for you there. That first game against McMaster, the unfortunate injury. Like, first of all, like how you doing now?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. It was really unfortunate. Like you said, I had built up. I had a good first year with Ottawa. I'd gone throughout the whole winter practices, winter workouts. Well, I think as a team we were ready to really, really make a good run. And then ended up getting hurt pretty bad in our game first week against McMaster. And just really, I try to work my way back, but our head injuries are kind of a weird injury. Some days better than others. There really is no timeline for it. So I was working my way back. I was starting to practice near the end of the season, but I really wasn't to where I thought I could be effective in the game. I just wasn't ready to go. So It was a tough year. I mean, that's football sometimes. Can't feel sorry for yourself. You just got to keep moving forward. It's one of those things that happens. I made up my mind when I got back to the team after those few weeks when my head was feeling good enough that I couldn't practice, but I could still kind of help out Ben and Matt in any way that I could. So I thought I did a good job there. I thought I was as good of a teammate as I could be. It was tough moments. So obviously I wished I was playing. I think I could have really helped their team out, obviously, but just wasn't meant to be. So just one of those things that happens in a contact sport. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to focus on it too much, but it is important to talk about and whatnot, and especially like in the unique situation that it was, where it's week 1 and now like all of a sudden the team's kind of getting ready for playoffs, and you're kind of like on the bubble almost of like a question mark where it's like, oh, is it, am I rushing it if I come back and play this week, or like what's like what exactly is going to happen here if I do come back, and is it the best choice and stuff like that? Like, I mean, how's for people who maybe will end up struggling with this decision like in their career, or people who are currently in it, like what's some important takeaways for just kind of like how to manage these situations for yourself? Because I know for me, I had one where it was like a men's league softball game, which is like literally nothing. Like it's just a random like weekend, and I got beamed in the back of the head with the ball, and then all of a sudden I'm getting calls from this, like, and this is nobody's full-time job by no means. It's literally like you chip in like $20 for a weekend, and I mean, yeah, it's some great fun, but like I wasn't gonna risk my headspace for it, because I mean, as soon as I woke up the next day, I mean, I couldn't even open the blinds. Like my head was just ringing so much, and I'm getting calls being kind of almost being made to feel a little guilty about the decision, and that I should just kind of suck it up and play. But yeah, I kind of want to hear your perspective on all that.
Yeah, I think a lot has changed for me. I had a few concussions before, nothing major. I'd missed a game my second year with the Thunder with a concussion, but that was kind of the only real issue that I've really had. I'd had a few minor ones, and then the McMaster one, honestly, I got hit in the third quarter. I probably should have went out, but I kept playing. It wasn't anybody's fault. I didn't tell anybody anything. Just as it was a dumb decision. But I think if you talk to a lot of football guys, you have your pride in line. First game of the season, we were down. I mean, I wanted to be in there, which wasn't the best idea. And then I took the last hit, and I couldn't get up from it. I think it's something that it's an experience that you don't really know how to deal with until you go through it, which sucks. But I mean, I stayed the night. I wouldn't wish anybody go through that. I mean, I had to stay the night in the Hamilton General Hospital on a board just on my back. I couldn't really move. I had to do all the x-rays, and then didn't sleep much that night. And then basically sat in my basement of my house for about 3 weeks because I couldn't really do much. That really affected school and affected football, obviously. So man, it wasn't great. But I mean, yeah, I knew after that I had to be smarter with it. I couldn't even play the next week if I wanted to because, like I said, I wasn't in the good headspace at all for a while. But it's definitely, like you said, I think it's definitely the things changing. I mean, guys on my team were really supportive of me. The training staff was awesome. Coach B was awesome. Nobody rushed me back because I think everybody knew kind of the seriousness of it, which is the way you got to handle it nowadays, especially as we know more about it. They're not good, especially if they keep adding up. So.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's one of those things where it's like it's not like a sprained ankle or a broken bone, right? Like it's going to be mysterious, and it's gonna take its time, and who knows, right?
Yeah, exactly. There's really no time set for your return. So I mean, I'm good now. I feel fine. I'm happy. I feel good. I mean, my family was really supportive of me the whole time, and like I said, the training staff at Ottawa were awesome. So I'm glad I'm back to normal. It definitely wasn't the season I wanted it to be, but like you said, those things happen. So
yeah, 100%. But so now I for one, I'm ecstatic to hear that you're doing good. I was actually when it happened. I was on like a flight to Germany, and I had paid for the a flight back from Germany, and I had paid for like the Wi-Fi because there was a lot of concern, so I was getting messages from like alumni and stuff like that, and just random students, people asking me like how you're doing, and I mean obviously I don't know anything at the time because I wasn't even there remotely anywhere close to it. And then you also have the just the factor too that even if I did know anything, you can't really say anything, right? So, it's awesome to hear that you're doing well. And I mean, now we'll look into the future. You're transferring to the University of Regina Rams. It hurts me to say it because I'm gonna miss seeing you in Garnet and Gray, but congratulations all the same. How did that move kind of all go down?
Yeah, I set out the whole year and just really struggled. It really affected my school and everything, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep playing or if I could, and I kind of just had to leave Ottawa and kind of figure some things out. And then when I kind of got back to Saskatchewan, I talked things over with my family, and I was feeling good and feeling like I may as well. I got 2 years left. I want to try and play, but play closer to home in front of them, which is important to me. And the opportunity with the Rams came up, I'm just looking forward to it. It really had nothing to do with a lot in Ottawa. It was just kind of a decision I made because I thought it'd be better for my future football and school-wise. It is disappointing in a way, obviously, because I came to Ottawa with high hopes, and the first year went well, and obviously didn't end the way I wanted it to. But, I made a bunch of friends for life in Ottawa and a bunch of good memories on the field and off the field, so those are times I wouldn't trade for anything. But now I'm looking forward to my future in Regina back home here, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, you'll be the hometown kid. I mean, what are the expectations you're going to set for yourself?
Yeah, it's fine. It's kind of the same thing as when I got to Ottawa. There's younger quarterbacks. I got to go in and kind of work my way up and see if I can get in the field. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I love the coaching staff. The guys are. I know a lot of the more guys because they're from where I'm from, so it's kind of a different factor. That's kind of the one cool thing I take from Ottawa is I didn't know anybody out there, so I was able to kind of adhere myself to the locker room right away and make some friends. So it was really easy coming back to Regina, even with guys I didn't know because I'd already done it already. I'm getting close to finishing my degree, and like I said, I got 2 years left to play football. So right now I'm just working hard. I'm working out at home in the basement and stuff and getting ready for the season, whenever that is. So just staying ready.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll paint this picture for you, and you tell me what's going to happen. Next year, Vanier Cup final, Regina Rams versus the University of Ottawa GGs. What's going on?
Well, how's it going to finish, man? Like I'm on the Rams now. I got to take the Rams for sure. But I mean, that'd be awesome to have it like that. And that'd be really cool. Like I said, that I got nothing but love for the guys in Ottawa. I know Coach B is no longer there, but the rest of the guys, I think the rest of the staff is there right now. So, I'm interested to see how that plays out. I'm not sure if they've made any decisions on who the coach will be or anything like that, but I'm just kind of waiting to see because I know I got a lot of friends on that team that are waiting to see as well. So I wish nothing but the best for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean that would be quite the storybook finish. Would you? How many secrets are you spilling to your Rams defense if that matchup comes up?
I'd have to share quite a few, man. It'd be tough though. JV always has the boys going. So I mean, he's a great defensive coach. So man, it'd be awesome. But it's been cool. I've gotten the chance to kind of talk to some guys here, and they always ask how the OUA is, and I've had a chance to tell them. So I mean, the OUA is, man, it's crazy competitive. So I'm glad I played in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and you mentioned JV. JV is always quick on the adjustments, so you might not get that much of an advantage.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Any teammates reach out to you when the transfer was made official in public?
Yeah, quite a few. I'm more of a low-key type of guy with things like that anyway, so, I told a few guys that I was leaving. I didn't want to make it a big boasting announcement. It's not really what I'm like, but when I got back here, quite a few guys reached out to me, which I really appreciated. I mean, honestly, I had no idea if some guys were going to be mad. I mean, some probably were. They have every right to feel like that. I can't control any of that, but I mean, the majority reached out to me and were awesome about it. They understood why I was leaving, and I really appreciate that. I mean, a lot of great guys on that team. Like I said, they'll be friends for life. So I really wasn't surprised because I knew what type of dudes they were, and they were just awesome. So.
And so yeah, now we'll finish this off on some lighter side of things there with your Twitter comedian career. Let's talk about that. You've been deemed as a pretty funny guy on that old Tweetbird platform.
Yeah, I keep hearing that. Like, I've always, honestly, I say like some outrageous things come to mind. I usually, well, actually half of them I can't even tweet out because they'd be inappropriate, but the majority I do, and I sometimes think it's funny. I'm not doing it to really entertain you, but I just think it's funny. And if people laugh at it, that's cool. But I mean, definitely the time in Ottawa, people really took notice of my Twitter following. I mean, people always say I'm funny on Twitter. I like to think I'm funny
in person.
I'm funny no matter what. But like, I like Twitter because like Instagram's more like, I'm not that good looking anyways. So Twitter's more intellectual, which is where I thrive.
As we just saw from the little gibberish game Instagram filter that we just played there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not about all that. I'm a Twitter guy. I'm a Twitter guy all the way. So.
So life after football, do you see yourself being a stand-up comedian, or what's that going to look like?
Oh man, honestly, I don't know about stand. You know, I am interested in writing comedy. I think I could do it if I really focused on it. I'm trying to get my teaching degree, but it's something I really like. I love movies and stuff, so it is something I would be interested in. Is trying to write comedy and stuff because I think I could do it. I can put down some pretty outrageous things. Whether people think they're good or not, I have no idea. But it would be something I would be interested in doing for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'd pay maybe $10-15 ticket range for Yuck Yuck's feature with Sawyer Buettner.
Oh man, that's an honor.
You're a big music guy too, and your taste in music kind of I'll say ruffles feathers in a playful way, more or less. Dixie Chicks, Taylor Swift, I believe, is also you're a fan.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Where's all that coming from, and what's that about?
I mean, I got painted as the country boy just because I'm from Saskatchewan. I like country music in Ottawa, but honestly, I like every type of music. As I said earlier, I'm a big Nicki Minaj, big Doja Cat fan. I mean, Go to Town by Doja Cat's like my favorite song of all time right now. Also, Gaslighter by Dixie Chicks. I mean, the girls came back flaming in that one, so it's awesome. But yeah, I was never allowed to touch the aux in Ottawa's locker room. Never allowed that. I think my one goal was to make Jermaine a Taylor Swift fan, and I don't think he'll admit it, but I'm pretty sure he listens to it at home all the time. So I'm glad. I think I made a few guys enjoy country music during my time in Ottawa. So that was one of my goals. So I'm proud of doing that.
I mean, you've made more progress there with me. I turn on any Newfie music and it gets shut down pretty quick.
Great Big C.
Yeah,
Great Big C.
I know.
Yeah.
Great Big C is great. Some of your most recent tweets now have basically been fueling the fire, especially with that docu-series coming out there now with the LeBron versus MJ debate, and you're on the side of LeBron being the greatest player of all time, and obviously that's gonna ruffle some MJ feathers. So where's that debate coming from, and where's your stand on that?
Yeah, I just think LeBron's the best basketball player of all time. He does everything. There isn't anything he can't do. And it's more so you get, like, I tweeted that, and I get these, like, middle-aged people trying to come at me, like, with the Jordan stuff. And I think those people are just afraid to embrace change. Just because something's older doesn't mean it's better. I think if you look at, and I'm not trying to, oh my God, you're going to get me in trouble, Rob. I'm going to get so many people after me now. Like, I'm not trying to, Michael Jordan's obviously one of the second best player of all time. And I just think just the people that he played against, if you compare him to LeBron's played against, and then, I mean, I had a dude trying to tell me that Jordan would crush the ball, and I'm like, well, how LeBron's 6'8", 250 pounds, like nobody's going to crush him. So I just don't get that. I just think that to each his own. Everybody can have their own GOAT opinion, and mine is that LeBron is the best of all time. And then a lot of people don't agree with me, and that's fine. They can have their own opinion. but they're wrong, so it's cool.
Fair enough. We'll set this up here now as one of the last things that we chat about. If you're putting together your fantasy offense, your dream offense of guys who you would just love to, any athlete, any sport you think that could transfer to football, you're at quarterback. I'm assuming you might put LeBron at tight end. Where the other who's filling the other positions, and is LeBron actually going with tight end?
Here's what I'll do. I'll make a team. I'll make a receiving core with everybody that doesn't play football. Okay, so I'm not going to use a tight end. I'm going to go. Actually, I'll put LeBron at tight end. I'm going to put. Who else did I put? I'm going to put Kevin Durant out wide. I'm going to put. Listen to this one. I'm going to put Rafael Nadal in the slot because I think he's quick on his feet.
Okay.
I think he'd be good. Let me go one more wide. Let me see who we got here. Who would be a good one? I'm going to put Wayne Rooney at running back. I think he's an absolute bulldog. I think he'd be good back there. And then, who else do I got? I'm going to put Serena Williams out wide too.
Okay.
I think so. There we go. Those are my people right there.
Yeah. No hockey players making the roster, right?
Oh man, I forgot about that. No, I'll leave that out for now.
Yeah, because I mean, Jalen Ramsey definitely sparked the whole hockey versus football debate. I'm not sure if it was last offseason or a couple off seasons ago or whatnot.
Yeah, was that like which sport is harder or who's more athletic?
I think he just said that he could like make an NHL team right.
Oh yeah.
Like right out of the get go.
He definitely could not, but yeah.
I think they got him on skates for a little bit there. I don't know if they have yet, or if it's gonna happen, or if it did. I honestly I can't remember, but I don't know, man. Skating's tough. It'd be interesting. I mean, I'd probably pay to watch that, but
for sure.
Yeah. So normally at the tail end of the podcast here, I always give the option. If anything that you want to chat about, the platform's yours. Any questions that you want to bring it to the public, life lessons, stories, anything at all, whatever you want. It's all yours. Life advice.
Yeah, I guess besides following me on Twitter, I guess for the group. No, I would say given what you're going through right now, I mean it's obviously tough stuff. Like I said, I don't know when our football season's going to start, but that's really not a huge deal. I mean, my sister is a nurse, so you're always kind of concerned how she's doing. She's working her ass off like millions of healthcare workers are around the world. So I just want to kind of give a shout out to them. And then a word of advice to people, I would say call your grandparents. I know my grandparents are kind of stuck in the house and getting a little lonely, so I mean, my challenge to everybody tonight would be to call your grandma, call your grandpa, and let them know you care about them. So that's all I got.
No, man, I couldn't agree more. Definitely on the call your grandparents side, but yeah, man. I hope you're staying safe, and this has been fantastic. Thanks again for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, all, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We even ran over an hour, so this might be the longest one. But it's funny; it didn't even really feel like a podcast. It just felt like catching up with a good friend. And we'll have to do a Greels Reels episode. Just exploring the hometown of Moose Jaw, and I'll fly out and we'll because there's even some more stuff that we could talk about. But yeah, we'll have to do a part 2 for sure.
We'll love it. Best of luck, Rob. You're the man.